I think so. I would say that, yeah, in order to formulate the scope of work, I really ask you all guys to keep in mind that it should be holistic. It should be about the whole ecosystem, not only one specific area. Not to mention that any specific area is not relevant. It is. However, I think the value of this product need to be on the holistic approach, on the system level approach, not more specifically on in every area. So yeah, and to answer this question is a lot of iterations, or at least some iterations from you guys to see what are the common denominators between all the actors that would be elevated to not only a strategic level but a system level. And I will give you an example just to I don't want to I want to I don't want to be the one that pick up this system level issue because I am not an expert of the field. I mean, where you are of the region of the social and environmental issue that you have. However, I could name one of as an example, as an inspiration. Imagine, for example, uh, if we think about a project at system level that challenged the economic paradigm of the region. Oh, so you would agree that if we tackle the DNA of the economic way of doing things, so we are really touching system level thinking, and we are really touching I mean, the mobility, security, food, education, and we are in a system level thinking
Yeah.
for sure. Imagine you reinvent or you challenge. What does it mean? Value creation. Oh, because if you tackle the value creation at a system level, you would see that the profitability doesn't have the same thing for all the parties or the stakeholders. What does
Profitability
it
from
mean
what?
of value? Is it only financial? Is it other than financial? So you are really tackling something like it's in the heart and in the DNA
Yeah.
of the current system, the mainstream system. Um,
You know,
let's
it's very
imagine,
difficult because most people there don't think that way. You know, they don't think in a system. They don't even think in a systems level. They don't even think in a common level, like the one you just showed me, right? Before you said like this is the personal, individual level, and then they have like the, but
yeah, yeah,
most of them, most of people in Veracruz. I'm not talking about the people in the project because most of the people in the project they have this mindset. That's why I'm bringing them in. But you know, how can we help them evolve for this common to a system mindset?
So yeah, you were
That
referring to
one.
this just to show it to the people, and you have the page here that you could. So we need to shift the system, the economic system, from business first to system first. And we are living in an era where we are shifting already from shareholder value creation, where the financial returns are all that matters, and companies privatize gain and externalize losses, which is quite incredible if you when you
Yeah.
think from a system perspective.
Yeah.
We are shifting to business come first. Negative impacts are often not sufficiently internalized or just justified by doing good elsewhere. So, which is what the CSR is trying to do, the corporate social responsibility. But we need now to shift to that a level where businesses address societal needs in a holistic way while not hindering progress toward a flourishing future. Otherwise, we will not thrive. Otherwise, we will
Yeah.
not flourish. Now, to your question, Andre, and I wouldn't have the answer alone. So it depends on you as a group. If you feel that you have already gained this system thinking approach as a group, and now you need to create a movement to attract and to make other stakeholders adopting this system thinking. So, tada, here is the project. So the project would be how to create a movement to make this sect, so this is a very small group of system thinkers, how to make it wider and make this adoption accelerated. So this is in itself a project, a research project, a methodology project, a training project, a pilot project, etc. If you think that the group itself, you as the group, are still in lack of either methodology, research, mindset, or you have some curiosity, but you are lacking in methodology, you have a curiosity and you are convinced to this, but you are lacking whatever. So maybe this is the project. I mean, make this group of change makers or driving makers, or name yourself mavericks if you want. And you would be the first step of the project. But again, for any funder, any governmental support or whatever, you guys need to tell the rest of the story. So maybe, Andres, where you can bring your value is to design the 2 or 3 step program, not only project. So the program would be maybe initiating a system thinking training plus a system thinking pilot project to make these people thinking intentionally from a system perspective, um, discover the tools, discover be equipped in terms of system thinking as the first project. As a second project, do pilot tests in any area where the system thinking approach is needed, not a silos, but an holistic approach. And maybe the third level of the program could be how to scale. That in order to scale or before scaling, so we answered first the question of having a core team. The second question would be, we had a pilot project where we succeed and we failed at certain levels, and we had now a clear understanding how to localize this approach. Because this approach is not typically new, because humanity 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago was system thinking, because the humanity was thinking like a system, like a whole system. And there is today some communities around the world, and probably in Mexico, that are still having this ability to think the nature and the humans and the other species from whole perspective and from system thinking perspective. So it's not a learning from the West or from the North. It's more to reconnect with our inner way of thinking as human. And it's just the capitalists who deviated us from system thinking to silo thinking, and from more specifically to financial thinking. So, and then in terms of indicators, in terms of methodologies, we could come up with any kind of framework from all the existing frameworks, and we answer the question: what would be the best framework, or the best framework with an S, that would really support this kind of program or project? This is my 2 cents so far in terms of reflection from what I
Because
read
for
in
you
the
it's easy.
document.
You know all these frameworks, for research and all around those lines, and then it's easy to pick and choose. I know a few, but not at your level. So
But
that's
believe me,
more
Andres, and
guidance.
all the group that would listen this, it's not an issue of methodology. Just just make a truth between. It's not a lack of the methodology. It's not a lack of frameworks. It's not a lack of tools. Please don't stop the thinking just because of whatever lack of any tool. We have more tools than we need. We have more methodologies than we need, and we have more frameworks than we need. So the question is, what we need to do or to perform, and why we need to do it. And then, like any I will give an example of a doctor. You know, you need to to have a diagnosis first, and then to pick up from the toolbox the specific tool that would address, or the specific medicine or the specific pill that really addresses this symptom or the cause, at least to decrease the level of the symptom. So again, I understand those from you who ask questions about methodology, tools, etc. But please trust me, it's not the right moment. I'm not saying it's not the right question.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not the right moment. And tell me what you want to do. Tell me where you want. Tell me where you want to go, and then we're gonna choose the best vehicle or bicycle or plane or whatever could be the metaphor. So for
Honestly.
now, I don't think we already, settled our scoping. And if some of you are aware or are afraid about the methodology or tools, I just showed you, and please share the resource of the think tank with your folks. And it's not about the framework, it's not about the tools. We have plenty. And if let's
I will
let's
share
imagine in certain
this
case,
recording. I will put in our YouTube from our NGO
yeah,
and
please.
share in the group and then put in the link.
Exact. And
Uh,
imagine that in some cases we are missing a tool or methodology. There are researchers, and we're gonna invent it if needed. I don't think so. But even in the worst case, and we are missing framework, methodology, or tools, we will just combine, Bentham existing and to co-create the appropriate tool, methodology, or framework. I don't think we are in this situation,
yeah.
but let's imagine we are. I don't see it as a blocking issue.
Okay. But I remember when we were in Universidad Veracruzana, I asked you like a research of this kind with this depth for implementation, how much would you need if you are implementing? And you said between 80 and 100,000. And I was like, that's a lot of money. But I don't think the worries right now is about the money, but rather it's about the project. And then when we have a really cool project, which is really meaningful and really impactful, then the funders will come. I'm
Exactly.
sure, that's how it usually works. You have,
Absolutely. I don't think about the money that stays just like that. I don't think about the tools being it's a cool tool, or it's a cool framework, it's a cool
yeah,
methodology. Let's start project. I don't think that's the right way of thinking. For me, it's like what you said. Just bring to the table holistic approach, a system view thinking project. Let's define what could be the project, and I just gave you as an example the three-step project, which could be a program. Then, if it's viable, meaningful, impactful, resources could come, methodologies would show up. And by the way, the first step of any project is to assess which kind of methodology would be appropriate for it. So we cannot even answer the question right now because it's part of the project itself.
yeah.
You could have some hypotheses, you could have some inspirations, and I gave you some. Um, I
But
I think that
my
we
actual
could we
worry.
could pick and choose
Uh-huh.
the methodologies out of it, but I don't think we are lacking methodology today. Go ahead.
I mean, we're entrepreneurs. That I think that's why we can get along very well, and we can
Exactly.
understand what we're talking about. And you know that the more time and energy we invest on this, it's not that we expected return on that investment, but at the very least, being social or impactful. I'm really glad that we can be one of the initiators of this thing. But as the
Exactly.
project grows, it will require more time, attention, energy, and focus, and coordination, and managing, and everything. And we are not in the status to provide that for free at the moment. The more time I do this, the less time I do something that might bring some
Of
short-term
course.
revenue. And I'm a bit right now. My priority is providing for my family and my baby, my first baby,
Of
who's
course.
coming in October, and all those kind of things.
Ah,
Honestly.
congratulations.
So in your perspective, in this kind of projects, so when I work with Dr. Faiz in the UNO Center in AIT, we would invest time in the concept node, and then when we have enough, okay, yeah, like an offer letter or something like, we really want to do this, then we will invest time in the proposal and the budgeting and everything, which is sometimes takes a few hours, 10, 20, depending on the project or more. And all that costing of those hours, if any advising as well, it would be placed in the whole budget of the project, and it will
Exactly.
recover it in later on. How would you see this
Absolutely.
happening here?
I see it exactly what you like you said, but for me, I mean, I don't expect I don't expect to bill my hours, my time on this. At least if it's only in terms of interactions like this one, and I would be very pleased to
Thank you.
support you at least for the initiation of the project. But about your time, the time of the really the core team that would really invest hard time to do it, I think that there is a leap of faith that needs to be, to be shared from you as a team, and all this time needs to be collected and needs to be made visible, and the funder or the funders, depending on the situation, would absolutely agree to at least partially, if not reimbursing or at least creating value also for those who initiated the project. And I'm not speaking about myself. I'm more speaking about you personally and
I mean,
the
we made
small
this
group
building because of you.
that's been supporting you. Yeah,
But at the same
but
time,
again, I mean,
I, I
it's
I'm
not
not trying to pass the ball to you.
about
I'm
me
not trying to
personally.
say like this is your responsibility at all. Actually, this is our state, this is our city, this is our region, and then when I always communicate this with people. If someone should be worried and focused and proactive about this, is us.
Exactly.
You know, it's
Exactly.
not that some
I'm
foreign
just like
power. You know,
I'm just like an initiator of an ideal situation where if people rely on it, so just make it happen. And I'm more in support and connection, and also routing you to maybe the appropriate resource in terms of, again, methodology or others. And when it comes to the funding, by the way, and this could be actually one of the concrete actions, I have intention to share the keynote, the concept note to the general chancellor of Mexico here in Quebec. And because before leaving Veracruz, he mentioned um, that he wants to, yeah, to figure out how he could, how he could activate a project from Quebec and to Mexico in general. And second, there is this foundation, the Jardin Foundation that I mentioned to you. And so I would be absolutely very pleased to, once we see that the concept note is 100% ready and we feel comfortable that we have something, that's correct. And the concept note for me doesn't need for now to have the whole budget, the whole details of program and budgeting. For now, at least the concept not need to be sufficient to pick up the interest of any, including the Jardin Foundation. So I will make my
sorry,
duty to connect with the
you kind
general
of
manager of it.
it didn't sound for like 10 seconds. Can you repeat the last?
Sorry. So I was mentioning that once the concept note is ready, and I'm not mentioning the whole details. I mean, it doesn't have to have all the budgeting, the pro can be step by step. At least the concept not need to be sufficient, and I will promote it here toward some foundations that are already in connection with Latin America in general, or so developing
I'm also
countries,
gonna
or
meet the people
Mexico
from the
more
U.S.
specifically.
consulate here in Portland. So
Yes, yes,
I
yeah,
don't know, meeting people
absolutely.
from Portland State University, I mean Oregon State University, PSU, sorry, Portland. So I'm also looking for other opportunities and funding. I know at
Absolutely.
the same time, I know if
And
we
as
do
you
this
mentioned,
together.
Andres, it,
Sorry,
it's not a question of, I mean, it would be a question of money later on or funding, but for now, let's focus on. I mean, I love the challenge of saying let's say you have $1 million available. What would you do? Okay, let me think. So think about the project itself. Think about the relevancy. Think about the size of the project, and then depending the funding would do one thing. the funding will determine the size of a project.
Exactly.
Because in sometimes the size, in sometimes if you succeed just to fund half of the budget, okay, so let's reduce the ambition and let's start about the phase 1 and phase 2 and then go to fund maybe the phase 3 and 4.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Use that as a good
it's
practice,
never
an
it's never a
example for the next
question.
steps. Yeah.
Exact. And even for SBC, I
It's
mean,
also trust
we did it
building.
like exactly. So here is 5,000. Show me what you could do with it. Show me the impact, and then okay, and then let's
Yeah.
scale from this to that. Okay, we secured the first funding from a small funder, but thanks to this, we go to
Yeah.
a bigger one until why not having a World Bank or I mean a major, you know, because what I see from your perspective, and I do respect also your I mean, all your constraints from personal perspective to leave simply. See you also when you have this concept not to bid for programs, international programs, to apply for some international programs, to apply um, yeah, for some innovative or some social programs that could be absolutely where you could be eligible for this kind of one. So very soon, not sooner, but very soon, you need to think also about the legal entity that would hold this initiative. Because for now, it's like a sort of, a group of people, but you need to anticipate from a project coordination perspective, dear Andres, to think about, okay, if within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we have a first proposal to send
And
to
what is your
any
recommendation?
entity.
Like create a
My
trust fund?
recommendation, again, I don't want to necessarily create new entities because it's waste of time,
And the
waste of
resources.
energy, waste
Yeah.
of resources. Uh, we are looking for resources, so let's invest the existing resources and use them. So, in my perspective, I would see any existing entity, and you really need to just tackle the conflict of interest if there is any, and to hold the startup phase by an existing entity. Could be your global Beneficio Global. It could be a municipality, even a university. Could but with the condition to make it, not for profit first, which is obvious, but more than that, keep the holistic approach by design and be ready to shift the assets of the project to a new entity that might be eligible and that might be needed later on. But honestly, I don't see it as an urgent issue to create an entity, but you really need to ask the question inside the group, what are the alternatives? What are the different entities that could hold this project? And try to identify an evaluation criteria, a very neutral and objective evaluation criteria. Um, and from the evaluation criteria, evaluate the alternatives, Beneficio Global, University of Veracruz, Municipality, and see which one is, I mean, it's not a competition, by the way. It's just the most relevant and existing entity to hold as an incubator to hold this initiative and to be ready to give this baby to the community and to the ecosystem later on with potentially a dedicated entity, but it's not an urgent for now. And even the funders would understand and would even find that it's much more lean because you are not investing resources in something that doesn't create value, a certain value at least. So keep in mind that for me, the entity is a uh, necessary step, but it's not, we don't need to invest in it a lot. Simply. Dear
Just
Andres,
to
I
clarify next
skipped
steps, I also have a
my
meeting at 10. I also have a
yeah.
meeting at
Go
10.
ahead. Go
So
ahead.
just to clarify, next steps would
Yeah.
be clarify the scope of work, not too broad, not too narrow. to allow us to focus on the system thinking level,
Absolutely.
in kind of like the all that thing, not in the strategic level, system thinking. And then also develop a hypothesis slash question, research question, which is what we are gonna focus.
Exactly.
Research question. And then also I will focus on the library you just sent me, that r3/o.org,
Alpha.o. Yeah.
for references and inspiration and frameworks that might be used, but that's not the main important thing yet, but just as a reference kind of thing.
Just as this is to secure any of the group members that ask the question about, methodologies, etc. So give them and share with them this, which
Especially
is an
academics.
open source. Sorry, say it again.
Especially academics.
Yeah, more specifically academics.
Consumer.
So please make them confident that there will be enough resources. And if they need to read it, just start by reading them. Maybe every member of the group could pick up one blueprint. You don't need to read all the blueprints, but everyone could read one blueprint, at least summarize it, and come to the group and say, hey, here is what I understand, here is what I found is interesting. And I think that they will never ask again the question of methodology and tools, because there is a lot.
So I will focus on the ones you told me, 3, 5, and 8, but at the end of the day, depends on the one on the project. And also
Exactly.
the ones you send us through WhatsApp and on the comments.
On the group.
Do
Yeah,
you think so? I will do this week. I aim to have progress, a weekly progress on the project. You think
perfect.
hopefully we can have like a half an hour check-in once in a while when you're
Yeah,
free?
yeah, absolutely. Once you feel yourself ready, just ping me on WhatsApp and we will find a time. So usually with the time difference between us, now it was noon when we started, or at least around noon. So it could be around noon, it could be
Yeah, it's 3
early
hours.
morning.
Here in
Yeah,
Portugal,
so we have 2 hours or 3 hours difference. Two?
now it's 10. So
Okay. So it's 3 hours. Yeah, you're right. Because now it's 1 p.m. So
yeah, I'm in the
anyway,
East
thank you
Coast.
very much, and rest. Please share my congratulations and my greetings for all the group.
Yeah.
And as they will see this recording, I will say hola for everyone.
Thank you so much, Ghani, for your time. Really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thank
Hope
you
to
very
see
much.
you
Bye bye.
soon.
Take
Take
care,
care.
dear. Bye bye.